quiet. Okay.
Hey, everybody, it's Blasted or Sash It. Do sexy maids determine if you pick up a book or not? We're going to find out tonight. Let's do it. Hey, everybody, it is Huey from Blasted or Sash It, and we also have Pocan Joe, but no Mike tonight. I was supposed to be gone doing a little Brokeback Mountain, but it ended up getting canceled.
I wouldn't admit that out loud.
So I am here. We're talking about comic books. But before we get into the books, let's look at something. Make sure you go follow us on the social media. You actually go over to Teespring, pick up a cool shirts like the You've Been Thunderlust. I thought about making this into a shirt, this nice little picture that I made to promote this week with little Spider Grandpa and Wolverine really missing him. So I thought about adding that to a shirt. Go check us out on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all those social medias as well. You know, you can catch us on a podcast too. If you don't want to see our ugly mugs, you just want to listen to our beautiful voices, you can check us out on a podcast, or you can watch there and listen. That'd be even better. Make sure you share it out to all your friends. Let them know, hey, I listened to Blasted or Stash It. But before we jump into comics, let's do a quick review because there wasn't a whole lot of books out this week again. Let's talk about maybe some of the stuff we watched, some of the stuff we did this week. Before we jump into books, Joe, you want to start us out? What have you been watching or doing this week?
So it's been really hard. I've been watching a lot of YouTube lately. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll notice I made a ring lately. What you may not know about Pocan Joe is actually very good at blacksmithing and CAD drawings. Something I've never done is casting. So I made a little turtle ring. This is not coming out very well, but it's basically a turtle. It was supposed to be a snake. It came out as a turtle. This is shells from a shell casings from bullets. We have a lot of bullets at our place. So I did that as a new hobby to kind of take on to get away from the hard pounding of blacksmithing. So that's been really cool. But I've been thinking about this and how can I relate this into comic book? So there may be some things here in the near future as I think about this and draw them out. So a lot of inner thought lately, right? A lot of alone time. A lot of thinking doing that. I've been watching Stargirl, though, and I've really been enjoying Stargirl. I like Stargirl. I think they do the whole Nickelodeon thing, and I call it the Nickelodeon thing, even though it's the mainstream thing now where the adults are kind of simplistic and old-fashioned, and they don't understand, but yet they constantly have to support the kid with their various technologies and past experiences. I'm kind of okay with that kind of storytelling because the wannabe Luke Wilson, who is a kind of a stepfather in this situation, does bring up some very good points and lessons are being learned. So I like that. I do like that, and I do believe in innovation at the same time. So I'm getting both of my fills in this story. I don't find this to be old people suck because they don't understand story. I find this that, hey, sometimes old people are not as risk takers and young people are. And but there is something to be learned from everybody. And I find it as a great correlation. I'm way overthinking the show, but I do that. So that's kind of my thing, right? But I do like it. I do think it's smart. I think it's witty, and I think it falls right in line with the comic books if we deal with All-Star Comics. When we kind of did that next generation with the kids are now fighting it out. We saw that in the show. But they're given a huge homage, and we got the sad story of what happened to the All-Star comic or the Justice Society. It was very heartfelt. I thought it was a great homage to great characters from the Golden Age, and I thought they really respected them. So as a Golden Age collector, I thought they did a great job of that. As far as other television shows, I'm not. I pretty much dropped Supergirl. The Flash I'll watch, but I'm not really paying attention to it. And Batwoman, well, it just doesn't interest me. Was it written for me? Was it produced for me? So I don't watch it. Oh, that's a dick thing to say.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever watched Supergirl either. Um, and it's your number three's out too for Stargirl, episode number 3, right?
Right.
Yeah, so I've only watched episodes 1 and 2. I haven't caught up with 3. I have been watching Harley Quinn. Do you watch that too, or no?
I don't get the DC app because I told my wife we're limiting our apps at this point because it's just getting out of control. We did this to pay less than cable, and we're already $10 over. So I was like, yeah, let's wait till the Disney app free service, and then we'll move over to DC real quick. So I'll get caught up. But I did catch up on some of the other shows like Doom Patrol and stuff like that, season 1, Teen Titans. That's about it. I'm sorry, I just stole that from you. Go ahead.
No, we're just having a conversation. We're going a little back and forth. I jumped back into season 2 of The Punisher. I've already seen it, but
Yeah.
season 2 was really good, I thought. So
You do an epitome for it, yeah.
yeah, so I jumped back in and started watching that again. I'm on episode number 5. Just really loving that. Started watching The King on Netflix, which is about King Henry V. I think that's who it is. And that's been kind of interesting. It's a Netflix original movie. I like a period piece like that. My wife really likes them too. So it's kind of one thing that we can kind of hit on and both agree to watch. Other stuff.
Period pieces, real quick. Me and my wife have watched on Hulu The Great, Catherine the Great. It's kind of
my wife probably has.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't think I would get into it. It didn't seem like my kind of thing. I am a little bit of a history buff. There are some things that are inaccurate with it, but you got to entertain the people, right? So I hate to say this, but I actually enjoyed it. And if you just read the summary of it, you would scream, "This is something Joey Pocan would not watch."
Mm-hmm.
But when I watched it, I was like, it's funny. It's legitimately funny, and it's kind of pokes fun at aristocrats. So I kind of enjoyed that. So me and my wife watch that together. I won't tell my wife I like it, and she doesn't watch the show, so I can get away with it. But I enjoyed it just between us, the viewers.
Yeah. I've been listening to audiobooks too. I listen to them on my way to work, and then sometimes I have to drive for a little bit. So I just finished up with the Naturalist, which is a biography about Theodore Roosevelt and how he all his hunting and everything like that, and how he contributed to the Natural Science Museum and stuff like that. You know, almost though, listening to it, if you think about what a naturalist is today versus a naturalist then,
very different.
very, very different. Yeah, because he's in there talking about wiping out a whole family of rhinos just to have a cool exhibit in the museum. It's like, wow, dude, that's not dated at all. You know, but it's very interesting to hear how Theodore Roosevelt reinvented himself numerous times throughout the years because he kind of had to, because of all the stuff that he went through, the health issues he had as a child, then moving on to his wife and his mother dying the same day, like hours apart. You
also,
know, that
the fact that his mother dressed him up in robes, like he
dressed him up for what?
Yeah, he wore his first pair of pants at the age of 12.
Oh, see, I didn't know that. They didn't mention that. This is all about his infinity for nature. That's what this whole audiobook was. So I'm listening to one now called The Rough Rider. So it's more about his time.
Rough Rider is a good one, yeah.
Rough Rider. So
actually, I just got finished with every year I do this thing. It's kind of weird. I didn't know we were talking about things we were reading. So besides comic books, I read other things. I just got finished with every year I read the Odyssey. It's one of my favorite mythological stories because it's the only truly unique mythological story where the individual that's involved, our antagonist in this story, has no powers. He's a mortal man and has to go against gods and demigods and everything else across the base. It is legitimately, in Greek times, it was the MacGyver of all times. I just finished that for this part of the year. Every year it seems like I'm finishing it just a little bit quicker. I get different authors' interpretations of it, but truly it's one of those stories that you can read over and over again. A lot of comic book heroes are based off of this very concept of Odysseus and his journeys. So I think what I'm going to be moving to now, just to keep the classics going, I think I want to go more macabre. So I'm probably going to get back into, again, there's books that I read every year about the same time. I know that sounds like very boring, but I get different authors' interpretations of them. And some people focus a little bit more on this particular part of the story. So I think I'm going to go through Frankenstein again. I love Frankenstein, but this particular author is going to go not so much on the monster side of it, but it seems like he's going to go more on the scientific into madness side of it, which intrigues me more. So I'm very excited about that. How do you get excited about a book, right? But I mean, we're comic book people. That's kind of our thing. So I'm excited about that. It's a new adaptation of it. I believe it was written in 2019. So I'll be reading that. I don't do much on the audio side. In my car, I watch YouTube channels. No, I listen to YouTube channels. So that's where I'm at there. But yeah, good literary work, good storytelling is kind of my thing. So I'm very excited about that. And I'm rambling, so go ahead.
Now, I was going to talk about a couple of personal, not comic book related, not movie related or any of that, but this personal things about me. Those of you follow me or our channel on Instagram and Facebook, not Facebook, but on Instagram. I did recently get a tattoo.
You did?
Just last Tuesday. Let me see if I can get my arm. I can't get my arm around there.
Hey, wait a second. Is that the Don't Tread on Me tattoo?
Yeah, that's the Don't Tread on Me snake. You're correct.
No, it's not.
So yeah, I just recently got that last Tuesday. And other personal note is I since December I've been really on this journey to lose weight, and now I'm down just about 70 pounds right now.
But you swimming?
Just by eating right and kind of getting out and walking and make sure I'm getting my steps in. Cut back on sugar and carbs a lot, but this week's been hard, though. It's been nothing but a lot of carbs. So, but that's it. That's all the person. Do you have anything you want to add before we jump into comics, Joe? What are you drinking there?
This is all right. So this is a unique beer that's brewed here in Virginia. It's called Voodoo Ranger. I really like this. Anything with Ranger on it, I'm involved. So Voodoo Ranger. So it's an Imperial IPA, which means it's made in Russia, or it's a Russian formula. Imperial is always Russian. Imperial Stout, whatever the case may be. And it's very, you see that caramel color to it. So that's automatically ale IPA for me. I like my fancy beers. As I get older, I realize that my drinking gets more expensive.
More disposable income, more expensive beer.
I don't know if it's disposable. I don't take care of that. I got somebody for that. It's called a wife. No, I'm joking. Oh, please don't hit me. No.
The other thing I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit here is I think everybody's kind of noticed it in the news. At least it came out today that DC is completely cutting ties with Diamond Distributing. So they're going to be going through Penguin House, I think that's for their trades, and then Lunar and UCS, I think for their floppies. Or I might have that backwards, as one of the two. But according to the article here by the Hollywood Reporter, that is 30% of Diamond Distribution's business is DC. I guess I want to throw it out to you and throw it out to anybody else maybe watching or in the rewind or whatever. What do you think this is going to do? Do you think this is going to be good for the comic book community as a whole? It's going to create more of a competition between the two? Are we going to get, from us as a consumer, are we going to have the better end of this? Or what do you think, Joe, about Diamond and DC?
I'm going to pull my small business administration hat on. Competition in the market always does better for the customers, doesn't always do better for the businesses themselves. It does create some friction. It doesn't mean that things are going to come out quicker because the timelines are already set. Everybody knows that Wednesday's new comic book day. So it's not going to change anything in that matter. Not knowing the back end negotiation deals that happen, I don't know if this is going to increase a price in any way. So I don't know that. We don't know that, period. The article didn't even address that if you read it. So what does it mean by the end of the day? I hope, my hope is that DC has decided to put on their big boy pants, right? And actually start being competitors again instead of falling back and just letting Marvel run the shelves at this point. And since they're the major contributor to Diamond, I do find that to be a problem. I've had this problem for a while now. I've never agreed with Diamond just running distribution. I have a problem with that because we saw it during COVID, right? Like DC wanted to run out some comic books, and Diamond's like, no, we're shutting down. Therefore, Marvel shut down. And that's what created that chain reaction. It wasn't Marvel shutting down. The comic books were already printed and ready to go. You have comic books printed well in advance. And DC's like, no. Look, we've been hurting on sales. We need to get a comic book out. We need to make a decision. So they need to make a decision. Diamond didn't want to play. So they found somebody else. I explicitly said in several of my own videos, something has to happen with the distribution. You can't have one distribution company. It doesn't make any sense to do that. I gave some alternatives to possibly doing like an Amazon subcontracting where people can go out and create their own businesses and deliver the comic books themselves. Luna, it's a small business. It wants to step up. It wants to play in the game. Then they should be able to. Now the question is, will the fandom that's out there right now, since they're about to take on these small companies, they're about to take on this huge tasking, are we going to be okay with it? Like if there's 1 week where, hey, look, this was bigger than we thought it was going to be, please just we'll get it out, maybe a day late. You're like they got to cut their teeth. And we as a fandom, we have to welcome this kind of competition. I know we have this thing where we're a community and we should all get along, and you're absolutely right. But that doesn't include not allowing competition and businesses to compete, and we should allow that. That's what you call an economy. And in basic economics, if you don't have a capitalism, well, all right, we'll do standard. Honestly, I don't want to get into it because I know that the thing's going to come up about capitalism bad, communism does well. The truth is, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it breaks down to economy. How does money flow? And regardless if you believe in capitalism or communism or some other form, you still need another entity, right? There's never one entity in any of those systems. So why was Diamond allowed to go so long as a distributor on their own? I don't know, but I'm happy to see this happen. I'm curious to see what happens. And I'm wondering if the fandom will be cool with it. But I generally ask it. Please comment down below, put something in the chat. Let us know what you think. Are you okay with possibly, as long as it doesn't become a habit, but mistakes happen, and these people are stepping into something that, do they really understand what they're getting into? We don't know, but they should be able to fix it. I'm curious. And if anybody from any one of those distributors watching this, give me a call. I'm happy to help you, and it's for free. I work for the government, so just work it out.
I mean, I think it's, for me, I think it's a good thing because we are potentially going to have that competition. Each one of those distributors now are going to want to try to one up the other person, and usually the consumer on the end is the one that benefits from that, either whether it be lower prices or better service or whatever it's going to be, perks. But I think Diamond's had too big of britches for too long, really, because they go, you know what, screw you, we're not going to put out your books, we're closing down. And DC's finally like, fine, we don't need you, we're going to go around because we're not going to do that.
Diamond did the huge screw over for local businesses that are comic book shops because they never did the buybacks. When Diamond took over, they never did the buyback. So you're made to order comic books. You, at a very quick period of time, You don't know how the comic book's going to relate, and they're demanding an order from you. Like I've never known a business. The comic book industry is weird. I've never known a distributor to demand something from you. I deal with distributors all the time for my own business as well as a business consultant. The comic book industry is the only place that where distributors are like, you will and you better and you need to. And it's like, and these poor comic book shop owners are like, yeah, but I can't afford it. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I'll order 3 of them. Just get off my back. Like, it's hard to be a comic book salesman these days. Because if you're not making money off back issues, you damn sure are making it on shelves. Like, it's getting rough. If I was a comic book owner and I couldn't give a buyback, and I'm buying crap like that, there's no secret to this. We'll go through the Captain America run in it. Captain America should be an easy seller unless Coates is writing it.
Yeah, definitely.
It's the worst selling comic book right now. I can't sell that back to you, but it's an iconic character, and you're forcing me to buy some of them to push out, and nobody wants to read it. So, what's going on here?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I forgot the name of the owner of Diamond, but man, he reminds me of a mobster. I mean, if you look at him, he looks like the kind of guy who calls somebody over breaking knees for you. You know, you're going to buy 15 Coates Captain America books. I'm going to send some of you, you're going to bust some kneecaps.
Interesting thing about the whole mafia and comic book things, it's not a unique thing. Fox Comics back in the day was actually run by the mafia because they were shipping paper in from Canada, and guess what was stuffed in the paper?
What was it?
Booze. It was during Prohibition. The whole Fox comic, that's why I love Golden Age, because most of it was just a side business for distribution for alcohol at that point. It's the only reason why you had comic books then. It was a great thing. But yeah. Oh, by the way, hey, Double S, hey, we're just having some chats before we get the review going here. But yeah, you could actually look that up. If you look up Fox Comics, also there were some weird business dealings back then that didn't make a whole lot of sense because everything was coming out of New York at the time. Paper mills or paper was coming through there, and it was mafia and comic books is more closely related in the United States than most people want to recommend or accept. It's absolutely fascinating. There's some great stuff on YouTube and Reddit about the entire thing. I highly suggest checking it out. Nobody realized how gangster comic books really are.
Double S wants to know, he says, what up, Huey and Joey? Where's Michael? Michael is MIA. We don't know where he is tonight.
He's taking a nap. He's
probably taking his old man nap. Then there's guess who we're actually jumping in, says, I don't miss a Coates Captain America. Unfortunately, I do. Cap's one of my favorite characters, but I do not like Coates writing. But
I think he's being sarcastic.
You think so? I don't know. Yeah. Aggressively reacting. Let us know.
I remember talking some garbage about that, and Relaxing's in here, and he's like, amen. Like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was somebody else that was aggressively something, but I could have sworn you were on boats with us on that one.
But, you know, with the whole DC stepping away from Diamond, I wonder how much more work that's going to put on the comic book store owner. Because now they have to go potentially to 2 companies in order to order their books. Is it 2 separate order forms, or how that's going to work? You know, I'd hate for more work to be put on the LCS people. But, I mean, I guess it could be better in the long run for them. I mean, if they're able to do buybacks or able to, you know, give some perks to the owners, then it'd be good.
I always throw this out to comic book people, and a lot of them hate me for it. But I throw it out there. If there is 2, 3, 4 distributors, whatever, and you're a comic book owner and you have to make those orders, well, you're not a restaurant, you're not a bar, you're not a manufacturing company, you're not a stitch company who has to deal with several of these things. You're a small business owner that's trying to survive, and you're doing the best deals. If it needs you need to break out it's distribution. Right? you shouldn't be getting all your sources from one. The purpose of owning a small business isn't for an easier life. Anybody that's opened up their own business is not going to sit there and say, "Oh, it was super easy." Like that.
Yeah.
Owning a business is not easy, and people that own a business and maintain a job and maintain some sort of afterlife after that, you'll see that they're very sharp, to the point, poignant people. Um, and I think the more sharp and poignant people we have, I promise you, the better comic books are going to start coming out, because now they got to have more of a say so. Because now they're dealing with more distribution, which means more spread out cash over a period of time. I don't want to make this an economics class. I'm about to do it. I don't want to do that.
I say it's teetering. It's teetering.
I'm trying to avoid it. But you know what? Maybe it's something interesting. Maybe I'll do something on my channel. If you want to share it on your channel, that's fine. It's something I've been thinking about lately, because I do a lot of my marketing and economics class. I base it off of comic books. I do that because I know the price range. I know the distribution. And comic books are something, when you do a slide deck, who wants to see the same slide deck with information? So I get to use comic book characters. I do that not to dummy down people, but I do it because I got to teach the same thing every day. So I got to make it interesting for myself. But maybe it's something we'll think about. If that's something that's interesting, if you're watching this on the rewind or you're in the live show and you kind of want to know some economics, and we can base it off of a comic book, and maybe you've been thinking about starting your own business, regardless of what it is, doesn't matter. Money in, money out works the same way. Maybe it's something we could do here. Just let us know. We'll provide it.
Double S said, weren't DC sales down so down that they were going to start licensing their characters to other comic book publishers before coronavirus started to happen? I thought I heard something about that.
Rumors. I never got anything confirmed about that. I've been watching this very closely. After the whole AT&T merger and DC, I've been very worried, because I thought maybe they were just going to buy it and end up shelling it out and sourcing it out. And I was scared about that, because DC art in the background, like I brought up in the background, some of these people are not doing their job. And I'll show you tonight, because it happened again in the last. But we've been talking about a lot about this. Maybe we want to break into some comic books.
I think we want to break into some comic books. Yeah. So Joe, why don't you start us out? And since I think you read more books this week than I did. What do you?
I really got to pee. Why don't you start?
Oh, you got to make me start?
Yeah. I got to take a quick break.
I'll tell you,
I drink a lot of beer.
You go tinkle. And I'll talk about a couple books I didn't read this week, so I can get them out of the way. A couple books. I saw this on my list, because usually I'll try to pick up issue 1 and I'll try to give it to issue 2, because I don't want to miss out potentially on issue 2 if I really liked issue 1. But this book came over the counter. I went, oh my God, did I really order issue 2 of this? And I'm the type of person that I feel obligated to my LCS. If I order the book, if I absolutely hated the first book, I'll still pick up if I ordered it, because I don't want to leave my LCS hanging with that book. I'm not that type of person. And that is Finger Guns #2. I didn't even bother reading this. I doubt if I ever will read this book. But as soon as I saw it, I went, oh, seriously? And they said, what, you don't want issue 3? I said, no, I don't want issue 3. So make sure it's not on my pull list. Make sure I'm not getting any more Finger Guns, because Joe and I both blasted Finger Guns #1. I thought I kind of had maybe potentially a cool concept behind it, but it was not nearly as good. The other one I didn't read this week is, and I actually loved issue 1. I don't know why I didn't get issue 2, but I got to wait to get issue 2. And that is Backtrack #3 by Oni Press. I really liked issue 1 because it kind of had like a Hot Wheels kind of vibe to it, the time travel, a whole bunch of 80s kind of stuff. But I said, again, I didn't pick up issue 2, so I'm like, well, what the hell? So I got to go back and find issue 2 before I can read issue 3. You missed it, Joe. I was talking about, I picked up Finger Guns issue #2.
Why?
Because I ordered it. I felt I said if I order from LCS, I feel obligated to pick it up, and I went, oh,
Yeah, you made that mistake. Backtrack was probably good though. I missed out on that one.
yeah, the first one was good for sure. But those are Justice League Dark. I know Joe read this. I have not read this. I'm behind on Justice League Dark. My comics did not get here until Thursday, so I had like one night really to read some books, and I was kind of tired. And I didn't get a whole lot read. Plus, I didn't have a whole lot either. So Justice League Dark, I'm still picking it up. I think I did order that cover. That's cover B, but I haven't read this yet. But Justice League Dark is usually one of my favorite books from DC. What do you think?
You read the last issue, right? Before this one, right?
No,
You didn't read the last issue before?
No, I have it. I'm behind on it.
You ready for some spoilers?
I'll have at it, man. Spoil the shit.
Okay, so this is a garbage storyline. This really let me down. This is a blast for me. I don't like what they're doing with this. They had this really cool concept of going super magical. That was the whole point, and that's what they let us believe. And then they got real physical with it. And what I mean by physical is that everything has a representation in some sort of form. I know that doesn't make sense, but just kind of go with me for a second. If you're a bacteria, there's one bacterium that's in charge of everything. So Animal Man, why is he in a magical book? I don't know. Somebody explained that to me in the comics. He gets infected in the last issue. And this issue, he takes a portion of himself and makes it a bacterium to talk to I don't know what you want to call it, the head bacterium parlay for the universe or the magical realm. Yeah, if you're confused right now by my review, it's because the comic book's confusing too. And he convinces everybody, or he convinces the leader to make the bacterium fight the infection that's infecting everybody because there's fungus growing out of their face. Sounds stupid yet? You think my review's stupid? Read the comic book. Oh my God. Then we get this really thing that they could have done really super cool and they still jacked it up. All right. So in New Zealand and Aboriginal countries, throughout the world, there's this kind of manifestation of the four elements in some sort of person form. It doesn't matter if it's Greek, Roman, Aborigine, Native American, doesn't matter. So we kind of do this thing in the Aboriginal sense where wind is kind of a vapor because there is no way to really detect wind other than being able to see it or feel it. Dr. Fate can't explain to them why they should help humanity from the antithesis of rot and decay from taking over. Mind you, at no point were we told that he was trying to take over anything. He's just being a jerk. Then nowhere did it explain it. So we're led to believe it. So, okay, fine. We'll bite on. We'll go through it. Well, they don't want to help. You know why they don't want to help? Because they think humanity's horrible. So then the one cool thing that did happen, and the one cool thing that I was like, wow, that was smart writing. You could have cut this entire thing and just focused on that, is when Dr. Fate took off his helmet and we have a new Dr. Fate. It's a young child or teenager, young adult, whatever you want to call him. Let's say it's right around 25 or below. He sits there and he kind of does this thing, and we've seen this in storytelling before, where it's like you do realize that humanity created you. They told stories about you first, and then there was a manifestation of you because of their belief and story in you. Super extraordinary meta, right, happening. And I thought that was really cool. Like they should have focused more on that, because that's the cooler story in this. There remind sometimes that our manifestations and the stories that we create actually create the belief of the things that we believe. And then, of course, they end up bowing down and saying, yeah, if people don't believe in us, we go away too. And because we are existence through people's imaginations and beliefs, we should support this. Where does it go from now, though? You had your heroic speech, and it was a great heroic speech, Where do we go now? We still have the Upside Down Man who still worked to deal with Wonder Woman. That's still left up in the air. We're going to keep that on the hook for a while. Um, we have great art in this, and we still don't know where Swamp Thing is. He's still faded away. None of the things from the last storyline have totally been addressed, and I know they want to have the big boom and the connection of everything. I get that, but I just don't think that this was the way to go with it. So unfortunately, it's a blast for me because I'm not allowing 4 bubbles of dialogue that hit very meta and very philosophical to justify the entire book. Um, and again, I'm not getting the whole wise animal man in this. When you're dealing with magic, what? And by the way, bacteria are not animals. So there you go. You broke his own title. It's kind of like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. The recipe's in the title. And he broke it. So yeah, blast. And I spent way too long on that. Go ahead.
We got, I guess, Relaxing saying Captain America right now is great. The buildup has revealed a story that was worth the pace and constant deep cut continuity connections. Wow, that's a mouthful.
That's
Good
right.
long-term spec too. Interesting. I remember Joey giving Finger Guns a blast a while back, and he also said, I think people would have gotten if they named it Finger Bang instead of Finger Guns. And then Relaxing says, now I have the South Park Finger Bang song stuck in my head. I haven't watched South Park for a long time, so I don't even know that.
I remember that. And Samuel David jumped in. He says, hello, everybody. He just jumped in the last minute. So I want to be clear on one thing before we move, especially with somebody with the name aggressive in their name. My opinion on books and blast or stash it, when we blast something, we generally stop picking it up. And I thought I gave a general, and I think anybody would agree with it, I carried it up to damn near 10 issues just because it was Captain America. I don't do that for any other comic book. At that point, when I realized at that point it was not a Captain America story, I dropped that at that point. If something has changed in between there, please let us know. I'm more than happy to go back and pick it up, read it, and see where it's at now. But at that time, when Coates was running it for those first few issues, if it was a long burn, I hate to say it, but it was a super long burn.
Yeah, it tended to be not about Captain America, more about Steve Rogers and the whole what happened with the Secret Wars stuff. Secret Wars, or was it Civil Wars?
Secret Wars. Secret Wars?
Civil Wars. I think it was Civil Wars 2.
Which one did you take Hell Hydra in? Because that's where it picked up from.
Well, yeah, it had to do with the Civil War. I think it was Civil Wars 2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, moving on to the next book. Like I said, I didn't have a whole lot this week, and I thought, what the heck, dude? I'll pick up a book that I haven't picked up in a while, just because it has some new characters in it, and they're called the Sexy Maids or the Dust Bunnies. And I will definitely pick it up if you have the Sexy Maids in there. You know it. I'm just that kind of pervy guy. So in this book, Catwoman's trying to, I guess she's working with the police now. I had no clue that now and the police know, or this one detective knows Selena Kyle is Catwoman, you know, so there's no Batman at all in here. So I don't know if this Catwoman's still attached to Batman or if it's a totally separate story or what. But she's following these sexy maids around. They're stealing from the rich and all this stuff. And this, and she's trying to capture her, but they're younger. They're a little more agile. Catwoman gets to get hurt because she's getting a little older. You know, she can't land on all 4 feet like a younger cat anymore. So she kind of has that a little bit in here as well. The sexy maids do have this stuff that's able to knock men out like a gas, and it essentially erases their memory for 24 hours, so they have no clue the sexy maids were even there. What a bummer to lose your shit and lose the fact that sexy maids were all over you and not have your memory.
Using knockout gas and losing memory is a comic book trope. It's a very
yeah. I'm not saying it's not, but the Catwoman finally catches up with them. They spray her in the face with it, and she pretends to be knocked out. But apparently, because she's a woman, this gas doesn't work on her the same way as it does a man for some reason. I don't know.
Same thing with Poison Ivy and her control over men versus women.
Oh yeah, but maybe if it's an estrogen versus testosterone thing, maybe it interacts more with the whatever it is.
Men
But
are stupid.
Yeah, you say sexy maids and men are all over it. But the sexy maids are trying to include her, say, "Hey, you want to be part of our team?" And Catwoman's like, "No, I'm not like you. I'm nothing like you." But really, wasn't Catwoman a lot like her?
Weren't you?
Yeah, weren't you?
It's a different Halloween costume, really.
That's all it is. Yeah, just a little more dominatrix. That's all it is. That's all it is. They're a little more revealing. She's a little more dominatrix. It's all the same stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the art I like. I'm very particular about how Catwoman's drawn, and I think the artist did a pretty good job here. Who was the artist on this one? But I thought it was pretty good. The story, though, not really. The art was great, and most of the time I pick up Catwoman covers for the cover. That's it. But they didn't even have a cool cover
buying a long time ago. Yeah. I stopped doing that.
But like I said, I didn't have a whole lot to read this week, so I picked up this. But it's a blast.
But it's a first appearance, so
it is the first appearance of the Death.
I mean, you just got to hold on to it for.
I got to hold on to it, and soon, see this cover here. She has all that money in her hands. I will soon have all that money, not much money in my hands, because I'm gonna hold on to it.
It's almost like a promise.
Yeah, it's going to Mylar. It's going to Mylar, and it's going in the top loader. So it'd be worth it. You didn't read that Catwoman book, but you did read a different Catwoman book, didn't you?
You didn't get the 80th anniversary?
I did. Oh, I did.
Oh, we talking about that together? Let's talk about
whatever you want to do. I'm just.
You've been hinted at it. I caught your hint, boss. Gotcha.
Well, what do they call that when a comedian does that? He's going to oh man, the transition, making that transition. That whatever. Talk about the damn book.
I'm naturally funny. I'm not a paid comedian.
Oh yeah, whatever.
So we'll talk about it.
Right, you got that's the J. Scott Campbell cover.
Yeah, 60 year, 1960s, whatever that is. I bought this because of a straight homage to the Batman show.
Batman 66.
When I looked at it, I have some Golden Age Catwoman stuff that I keep locked away. But the truth is, Catwoman was only sexy during this era. I'm sorry. You can argue. I'll fight you in the street. 1960s Catwoman was probably the sexiest out of all of them. First off, never been a fan of Michelle Pfeiffer. I thought the other ones just kind of looked like I'm trying to be sexy. This is just a girl just posing for a picture. That's it. It seemed the most confident to me. So I like this cover, and I stopped cover buying things because it's worth money for the same thing. So I stopped doing that stuff. But if that's your thing and you collect covers, seriously, if you're a cover collector, don't stop.
I don't cover buy. I don't.
Yeah. So I'm buying what I like. So about the story. So I read through it. I'm getting kind of weirded out by this kind of random thing. And please comment on this in the chat and in the comments. I'm genuinely confused by this. When did 80 years become a big thing? Like, you hit milestones. You hit the 5-year, 10-year, when you're dealing with outside organizations, right? Outside the community. 25 years, that's a big deal. 50 years, oh my God, you just doubled up. Great job. So what's a double from 25? 50, that's a big deal. What's a double from 50? 100. So why are we celebrating 80 years? What was it when DC first started doing this? I did a little satirical thing on my channel because they said something about their millionth, or no, not millionth. It was something that they did their 100th year anniversary, but Marvel hadn't been around for 100 years. They bought up another company and they doubled the time. So I'm like, okay, if we're just going to randomly say times, I literally did something on my show where I was like, okay, well, I can say it's my millionth episode at this point because there's a million episodes on comic books on YouTube. I'm going to own them all. So there we go. If we're just going to throw out the random stuff, this is a straight money buy thing right now. Nothing huge in here. We've seen these before. We've got some good stories, we got some bad stories, and we have some really cool stories. The one I found, people want to know my opinion, Born to Kill. I really like that episode. That is the Catwoman I know in the purple outfit. She's got all the jiggly bits.
Yeah, she does.
Like Beyonce dancing on a stage. She's got all the jigglies going on. But we're not introduced. We're attaching ourselves to a comic book character that we all know and love, who's a villain, Clayface. The rest of the story seemed okay to me, but I'm not losing my mind over this book. Not the hype that they tried to promote on it. It's mediocre to me. Now I know everybody's about to blow their minds because the Joker one's about to come out. Look, I don't want to tell people how to buy things. Do what you want. Here's what I'm going to do, and I think it's very reasonable. I'm just going to pick the cover that I like the best. I don't think one cover is going to be worth. If you're a speculator right now and you're looking to speculate a market, I don't think any of them. Look, if there's custom covers on Gem Mint or something like that, and you're like heavy into the market, and that's your deal, and you're forking out big bucks for big returns, 3 digits or more, fine. Do that. That's your thing. You're smarter than everybody else in the room. For us comic book collectors that will hold on to something, and we're like, okay, we're gonna flip it in a few years. Look, these anniversary date things are not where to do it. You're not getting introduced to new characters, and if you are, they're not going to replenish into a storyline in any way. The way these things are written are short bites to satisfy and produce, and that's how they're printed, and that's how they're going forward. Even some of the stories in this were kind of, I'm like, why is this a story? And then some of them like, oh, that's, huh. But there was no, oh my God, right? Like, kind of measure it out, right? If it's a what? And then there's the okay, and then there's the oh my God. If you're an investor, always go with the oh my God. You'll always go right with that. But other than that, this is I read it because we have a YouTube show. It's going to end up in an auction. So if you think it's worth money, who knows? You may win it for $1 in one of my auctions.
Yeah, what irritates me about these is like they've been doing it now for a year. The Robin, the Batman, all the stuff. Marvel's done it as well. At least DC lately, they have not been showing the covers. It's this cover's by Frank Cho. This cover's by Adam Hughes. And I'm like, dude, I really want to see the cover. If I want to buy it, I like Adam Hughes. I like Frank Cho. Mm-hmm. And I get this, and that's not even a really cool Adam Hughes cover, That's not really even a cool Frank Cho cover. It's just not cool, I don't think. Now,
nonetheless, just brought up a comment in the room, and I think it's legit. And I really want to hear from everybody else. Double S, who has, by the way, just a cool guy, long-time listener. Thank you for your support. Says, yeah, good question, Joey. When did 80 years become a milestone? Look, it's not a wedding. At what point in history were we like, hey, it's the 80th anniversary of blank? A wedding, that's a totally different thing. 2 people married together for 80 years, holy crap. Me and my wife have been married for 21 years, going on 22, and like we still question it. So he's like, why, what?
The Joker one that's coming out the 80th anniversary. That's coming out here next month or whenever it is. That is supposed to have, that's kind of a key issue because it's supposed to have the origin of Punchline in there. So I mean, people, well, no, I'm not saying that it's a big deal, but I'm saying that it is supposed to have an origin. So that may be a little more of a speculative book.
And I'm going to go ahead and break the spoiler on this. We already know the spoiler for this is that Punchline has no relation to Mimic. Mimic was a character. They did that heavy speculation on that cover character. All right, so before you all lose your minds, there's no connection between the two characters. They're two separate characters. So listen to me. Save a few bucks. Don't lose your mind. They're not connected. It surprises me that they launched this comic book after that speculation happened, and then they throw out the origin of some random character that we just got introduced to. The book's not worth more because of this issue. The first appearance and we're throwing the word cameo around and we're using it incorrectly. Whatever. The cameo and the origin, I don't think of that big of a deal. I don't think this character is going to last. Now, we do know that in Batman 93, I think is where we're at, is where Punchline and Harley Quinn meet. That would be interesting. I kind of want to see where that goes because that could turn into a fuguffle. But origin stories, unless they do something with the character that's extraordinary, unless she becomes another Harley Quinn, not important. Doesn't matter what cover you get.
No. The one story in here, usually at the beginning of the stories that are in here, it says who the writer or artist are and stuff. This one here didn't say who it was at all. I mean, of course, it does an inside cover. But I'm reading it, I'm like, this sounds like Tom King. This sounds like Tom King. This is this mundane bullcrap. This sounds like Tom King. And sure as shit, it was Tom King. And that's that Helena cover. That's one where Catwoman's pregnant. It's kind of an Elseworld story. And I was like, oh, God, here we go, Tom King. Is this a little hint of the Batman Catwoman book we're going to be getting? Hope not.
I don't know what Tom King's deal is. Like, at one time, Tom King was good at writing. Maybe he's going through a midlife crisis and his wife is like letting him do things. So he feels trapped and he feels like everything he writes, people need to feel that way. Like, I don't know what, like, Tom King was a legit writer back in the day. And over the last, since Batman 50, it's been like, oh, you're going through a thing. Like, you're going through a thing. Get it.
Let's move on from Catwoman to another, I don't know how many pages were in this, but it's a Black Label book. I'm not sure if you picked it up. Birds of Prey, #1.
No, like garbage.
Yeah, this is another $10 book, but this was one story complete. This wasn't a whole bunch of like miscellaneous stories. This is one story. Essentially, Harley Quinn gets out of the insane asylum, says she's done good enough. She's no longer part of the Suicide Squad. They remove the bomb from her neck, so she's free to go. And now she's back out and with in society. This does have a lot of head lopping, which I was kind of shocked by. Some dude's getting his head lopped off. He's the one who ends up calling Black Canary in the middle of the night, kind of saying, hey, do me a favor. Will you think about me when you're in the shower next time? But that's kind of creepy thing to do. But Black Canary didn't know that he got killed. And this whole story about Harley Quinn joining up with Black Canary and the Birds of Prey. So I think this was actually supposed to coincide with Birds of Prey movie that came out, but the visual representation of the actors in the movie are not the same that are in the book. So Montoya is actually a lot younger. Who was the other? Huntress is in here. Huntress kind of looks the same. Black Canary's a blonde in this one versus a brunette that was in the movie. But this was actually a pretty quick read. It wasn't the best story in the world, but it was a pretty quick read and interesting enough. Would I pay $10 for it again if I would have known? No, I wouldn't have paid $10. But it is prestige format. It is a nice thick book. It'll give you 20, 30 minutes of read time. But I think this is just a one and done thing. I don't think there's any more coming from this because it does say end. But Joker pops up in you, but they never show his face; they show his body, and so that's kind of cool thing to do. But I would hold off on Birds of Prey. If you're a fan of them, great. But if you just kind of maybe want to casually pick it up, I'd wait to go have it on sale versus paying $10 for it. Because the book, I'd probably never read this again for sure. But I do like the Prestige format. No ads here throughout, so it's all comic. Nice. That's kind of cool. You would definitely pay more for 2 floppies, or just about the same for 2 floppies, and you have more content in here for $10 though. So, it's blast.
Kind of like some of the advertisements in comic books.
Yeah, there's no good humor ice cream
thing. So that's a high end thing now. I kind of like collecting that stuff. But
I'm trying to convince my friend right now. He has a whole bunch of comic books over in a storage unit. He has no clue to what he has anymore. He hasn't looked at him for years and years and years. I want to go over and take a look and see what he's got, and I'm trying to convince him to take a road trip tomorrow, about an hour out away.
I need to fly out and kind of check. You let me know, buddy. I got the auction house. I got an auction house.
We'll just drive over there. What else? What else you want to talk about, Joe? What else?
Okay, I got another comic book. I think you read this.
Yes.
Detective Comics.
I did read that. Yes.
So this is 1022. I'm kind of torn in this book, and this is one of those rare situations where I don't have an opinion about something. So we had this really cool character, and I thought we were doing something super original. First off, before we continue, I just want to recognize Double S. He says, maybe Tom King has writer's block since Batman 50. Probably. I'm thinking he got divorced during that time. So, anyway, Detective Comics number 2. I'm sorry, 1022. So we're kind of following Two-Face on this, and we're kind of dealing with a cult. Right. And we talked about this. There's this kind of pseudo philosophy called flippism. It's pseudo, so it's not legit. But a lot of people kind of buy into it. That there is no destiny, there is no pre-manifestation. It doesn't matter what you do. You can literally, and I mean literally, not in some figurative sense, but in a literal format, flip a coin, make your decision. Doesn't change anything in your life in the way that you go. Therefore, there's no manifested destiny in your relationship to the universe. We found out that they kind of turned that over on its head, and the complete story was manifested because the Joker manipulated the situation with Harvey Dent here to create a scenario that would give him time to do his story. So it's actually a Joker story. I'm conflicted by this because you had a great story, right then and there. You had something you could push, and then you forced in a mainstream character who's popular. I don't know. I'm torn by this, but I'm intrigued by it because he kind of let him do his own thing. What does that turn into? That could turn into something. Writers have a great opportunity right now to kind of split this story into 2 storylines, which means more comic books, which means more money. Will they do it? No, they won't. If I'm wrong, I'll pay you for the comic books you buy. They won't split this into 2 stories. They're going to force this narrative. And the problem with this narrative is it's going to turn into a convoluted mess. That's I'm having conjecture. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll apologize later. But right now we had a story that split. Like, this was a pretty powerful group, and they were doing things. They made a cover after it. They were doing their stuff. We're finding out now that, well, that's not really what's going on. The Joker's got this thing going on, and hey, at the end of the story, the last page is the Joker saying, hey, you're my new recruit. Is it a new character? Is it something else going on? We don't know. They left that on a cliffhanger. I really kind of want them to manifest that story a little bit. I really like this whole cult, Two-Face, flippism thing. I kind of wanted to see that grow into a story. And then they did the cop out thing where if you need to sell comic books, you throw the Joker in it. I don't want to believe that's what happened, but I can't help but feeling like it was like it was just crammed in there for no reason. That could have been a totally separate storyline. You're trying to overarch and mundane a story that people are already interested in. Like you want to mundane that. It was a great story. You could have pushed that, but you didn't. And now we have basically a Joker story who's random. Don't get me wrong, Joker's one of my favorite villains, but I think you had an opportunity here to kind of push that whole Harvey Dent split personality thing, and you could have really ran with that. Instead, you basically made it a Joker story, and I don't know. I don't know. Like, I'm cool with the Joker. I like the Joker, but the Joker is only good when it's a Joker story. This was a Harvey Dent story. And I think you missed opportunity. What do you think?
Well, I think they're moving into the Joker at War story. So I know Joker's supposed to play a bigger role coming up. There are two Jokers in here. Did you notice that? They have the New 52 Joker, and then they have the other Joker. So maybe
I'll be honest. I know that's said,
yeah,
but it hasn't been confirmed. So at this point, with the writers and the illustrators, at this point, I don't want to conjecture on that point.
Well, I think they're going to move into the three Joker story. I mean, they've teased it for a long time. I think this could be the opening of it. That last page signed with the new recruit, I think it's Court of Owls because it shows that Owls.
I think it's another Joker.
I mean, it could be that. Maybe it is that third Joker. Like, maybe that's what it is too. I never heard of this artist either in here, and I thought the art was pretty good in here. I'm not sure if he did the last one, Brad Walker.
But let me ask a question, and I kind of got to go with the chat right now, and I don't mean to break apart your thought process, but everybody kind of heard what I said. I kind of want to force that on you, on your opinion, and please do that with me later. I agree. I felt the ending was forced there. Yeah, is it a Joker War tie-in? Right. With a question like, is this how we want to? If we're the fandom, right? And I heavily read DC. I've supported DC thick through thin. I've called out BS when I saw it. The ending. Where are you at there?
I mean, I guess I'm looking at it. I mean, I did like this whole story with Two-Face, and because Two-Face, I think, is really a villain that they don't focus on enough. Joker is the popular villain. If you look at Batman's Rogue Gallery, Joker's at that tip top. Oh, yeah. And I think they really need to focus on some of the villains. I thought it was great having Two-Face, has a cult, has that a part of it. But I do see them trying to work into this Joker War story where they're saying, okay, no, Joker was the ultimate reason why this happened. Joker was the one that conspired this whole thing. So it wasn't Two-Face. I can see what they did there and what they're trying to move forward with. But I would like to see that Two-Face story play out a little differently.
Right? Like the Two-Face story was solid. There is so much you can do with Two-Face. And look, I know we like to say split personality. The truth is, and I'm the only one that's going to say this, I don't think Harvey Dent has split personality. I think he suffers from bipolarism. And people are going to say, well, what's the difference? Well, okay. Split personality is a complete identity change. Bipolarism is a shift from one personality to another. I thought they could have really done something with that because with the whole flippism thing and the way they were describing it, they could have changed that entire scenario. And oh my God, the psychological community alone would have lost their minds on it. Instead, they made it a Joker story. Like that's what they did. Like if you're not aware, there has been papers written on Harvey Dent, uh, like PR philosophical papers and psychological papers written on him, arguing if he has bipolarism versus split personality. You had a great opportunity to kind of play with that a little bit. And you already kind of hit with the philosophy of flippism. It's a pseudo thing, granted, but it doesn't mean it gets ignored. You had a great opportunity, and you were like, "Hey, sales are down. Throw in the Joker."
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can't help but feel that that's what was forced at this point, knowing that that's not was, because comic books, the way they're written, they already have 3 issues before one issue's introduced to us. I get that, and there's a longer storyline to it, but God, when you're a reader, it's like, man, you had a great story, right? You could have launched that entire Joker thing in a separate issue, and I'll be honest with you, the fandom would have bought it.
Yeah.
Joker's new plot, you could have launched it from there, did a tie-in, done deal. Instead, you try to cram it into one issue, and you got what? What was the price of this? I don't keep. I'm rich. I don't pay attention to prices. You got $5.
Yeah, for the cover B. Yeah, $5.
You could have got 10. You could have gotten 10. Because you had to buy 2 of them because they're connected. Mm-hmm. And we would have bought it. Because I truly believe the fandom is starving for a good DC story. I truly believe that. But I'm talking way too much. Go ahead.
I was going to bounce off Detective Comics and move into the Goon issue 10. You said you didn't pick this one up, but usually your Goon is one of your favorite books when it comes out, right?
I'm at the local comic book shop, and no slight on the show, but since we moved, it doesn't make any sense for me to order comic books because they get to me by Friday. It's unfortunately, like, I'll beg my comic book shop to open them, but the truth is he's not ordering one issue, so it is what it is.
I guess that's where I'm lucky with my comic. They will. They know I order one issue, and they'll happily do it for me. Because I know it's the kind of special order. But Goon is on my pull list, so it's one that I automatically get each month. So Goon number 10. So the last issue, remember, there was the German fish beer, and we had the Witch's Brew. So that story is continuing on. And here,
that story. That is a great story. I love it. Go ahead.
So the fish, they're having this big meeting, and they're talking about this beer, and the audience is like, "Wow, this is the best beer ever! You must have brought out your best batch for us. The fish brew was the best." And they flip it over like, "We did not get delivery from the fish people. This is from Witch's Brew." And so the fish people have been drinking the Witch's Brew the whole time, and the fish people freak out, And so it's a big propaganda thing going back and forth. They're like snake oil salesmen. They're out there saying, there's no way that they can brew better beer. Women have too small of hands. They can't brew beer properly. They can't do the fish thing, So, and it incites this like riot between the people. They're like, and his husband and wife's arguing, like, hey, kind of makes sense. Women can't do that, and stuff like that. So it's going back and forth. And Goon is kind of on the outside. Goon and Frankie are seeing this from the outside, and they're trying to keep the peace. They know it's like dynamite keg getting ready to blow off because of everything going on. And so they're going back and forth. There's propaganda getting thrown up everywhere. The Witch's Brew go out and put posters up of what the Kaiser's secret ingredients of them pissing in the barrel, and so they're making fun of going back and forth. And they think that the fish people think that the Witch's Brew lady have some kind of loophole how they're be able to get stuff cheaper and brew it cheaper because they're not paying the taxes on it like they should. And so now we have corrupt government, and the fish people are going to the tax people and say, hey, here's some money, go make it harder on the witches to brew their beer. And that's kind of where it is right there. It's going back and forth, a little political. if you look at some of the stuff going on today,
Comics.
there's a lot of it there. It's like two different groups pissing all over each other group, and now the government's getting involved to do some corrupt stuff. So it's it's hard to take beer brewing and compare it to a topical situation of today's political environment. Yeah,
distributors, customers, product, and quickness. It's all the same thing at the end of the day. That's interesting.
Yeah. So Goon is still good though.
Oh man, I wish my comic book store carried it. Maybe I need press the knuckles to him a little bit. That's what Goon would say. Press the knuckles to him.
Joe.
Real quick in the chat, we got a lot going on. A lot of people have things to say. So they're like, yeah, is it a Joker tie-in? Right? With a question mark.
Yeah.
We don't know yet. If it is, it will legitimize it. I don't think, however, it does. I think we're going to get some random character. But I'm speculating. Next we got could have done a great job on Two-Face if they let that story go. But you see the chat, so
Joe disappeared. I don't know what's going on. He heard a knock on the door. A little pig, let me in, and he's screaming, "Not by the hair of my chinny chin." But Double S said they could have done a great job putting this Two-Face back in the spotlight for a while. That's kind of what we both agreed on with that too. And then the Two-Face story was really good. And Josie, I think Joey's diagnosing Two-Face to be his therapist. LOL.
Oh man, I'd be rich. Because the ultimate. And not to go back, like you gave a good review of your story, but to go back just quickly, we like to think that Two-Face has a split personality, but he constantly has to flip a coin to make a decision, and depending on what side, that's the personality he takes over. So he needs a vehicle. That's not a split personality. You can't control a split personality.
That's when he says, "Tonight we do no good."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's bipolarism because you have a vehicle to. Anyway, look, we don't want to get into it. Look, they're writers; they're doing the best they can, but I'm just saying you really could have played with the whole concept there, and we could have got a definitive answer about him. So you want me to talk about a comic book?
Yep, that was my last book that I've read this week, and we're already over an hour. So if you want to run through yours real quick.
Is this your order for me to do a lightning round, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm running through a lightning round. Superman, Batman. This is kind of weird. I don't know how I feel about it. I've taken some notes on it. I don't want to beat people up on this. It's a good story. Like we get this kind of. I don't know this character, which surprised me because I like to think of myself as kind of a cool guy when it comes to the whole Superman Batman storyline. So I took some notes on it and I'm looking at it and I'm like, I don't know this character. It's ultra humanoid. Apparently it's a Grog type character, super human intelligence for a simian. It's a gorilla that's super smart. There you go. And he uses people as their drones because he's very technically smart. He uses them as his drones. He tried to hook up Atomic Skull, and Atomic Skull blew up. So we have no more Atomic Skull. Rather, Atomic Skull from Suicide Squad. He's always been the character that's just kind of thrown in there at some point. Apparently, he's dead. We'll see how long that lasts. But apparently, they're on the case. I'm not sure where the story's going at this point. I hope it's not another guerrilla war where Grog and somebody else has a problem, and they got like that trope's played out at this point. I hope they come up with something original with this, and I kind of hope this is their first appearance of this character. Like I don't know this particular gorilla, but something makes me happy on the inside in my soul when I see a super intelligent monkey. Because I'll be honest, I've met some super stupid people. So
Does the gorilla have a bow tie, suspenders, and a hat? Is it Magilla Gorilla?
no, this one's got a metal hat and apparently metal suspenders. So he's super metal.
Okay.
Like whiskey in the jar type metal. I don't know if that's hardcore metal. I'm a middle-aged man. I don't know what I'm talking about. Moving on. Action Comics is getting weird, and I don't like it. I don't know what's going on in DC with the background. I've pointed this out before. If you're going to charge me money, personally, in the background, I don't want to see a smiley face. In this one, Wonder Woman has a couple of smiley faces going on. It's or not Wonder Woman, random characters. The artist just did a 2 dots and a smile. That kind of, you're lazy. Like, I'll just tell you outright, you're lazy. You could shadow the people. You have a lot of options that are super simple than dot line. You're a horrible person. Anyway, the rest of the story is basically evil Oprah Winfrey runs an invisible mafia who ran the Daily Planet, and everybody just realized that the Daily Planet was run by the mafia. Surprise! But like after what I said earlier in the show, surprise. Apparently, she runs several organizations throughout, but they keep focusing in the artwork on the car in Action Comics 1 being crashed. So now we're being led to believe that maybe she's from other timeline, whatever. And the reason why I say that is because now all of a sudden we're worried about where Connor Kent came from. I'll be honest with you, when it came to Connor Kent and the whole Superboy and the leather jacket thing, I never read that storyline. Like, I thought it was kind of, you're making Superman, you made him super young. Good job. Did the exact same thing. Like, same thing. You deal with school stuff. It doesn't matter. So in this one, Superman finally warms up to him because if you know anything about your comic book lore, rather it's in the cartoon, rather it's in the Teen Titans, whatever the case may be, he was always kind of standoffish of the young man. So in this one, he tries to help him out. All of a sudden, the Kent family is like vaguely remembers him. Just out of nowhere. I'm assuming this is something from Crisis, where I kind of jumped off on Crisis because Crisis got weird and you couldn't keep track of a storyline. So I think it's an homage to that, but nobody ever cared about it because it's the clone of Superman. So now they're trying to figure out where he came from. Do we care? Is the ultimate question. My answer is no. I spent way too long on that one. Real quick on Independence, and we're going to rush through these. Look, Mercy, get yourself this comic book. I don't generally just randomly recommend comic books to people, but if you kind of like a macabre horror / old world feel, and you like beauty versus death, that kind of whole play set in a comic book, this is actually good. I see Tim Burton doing this. Legitimately, read the comic book. Tell me what you think. I know it came out last week. I missed it because I got confused on my comic books. Check it out. I'm on this. Like, this is hot. Nailbiter returns. Never read Nailbiter, the first volume, but I got caught up in the story, and I think this is very smartly written. They didn't give away any spoilers in it, but we got introduced to the characters very quickly. That's the best description that I have right now. You need to read this comic book. You can pick this up today, never read Nailbiter, and you're on point. You're there. You're into the story, and you get it. And it takes you to places that are very interesting. In other words, you know I love villains. We get good villains in this, like sick, crazy villains. By the way, if you're from Alaska, Florida, California, congratulations. You have the highest rate of serial killers in the United States as of 2020. And you've kept that for the last 20 years. Congratulations.
The Oregonians are just too high on pot to care about that stuff.
No, they're not. I'm just throwing that out there because it's kind of poignant to the story. Next, Sabrina, the teenage person. If you didn't read the last volume, this volume's worthless to you. You have no idea what's going on. I read issue 1 of the last volume. I dropped it then, picked up volume 2, and then realized I didn't read the entire volume. And I still don't care. There's nothing in issue 1 that would attract a reader of comic books to pick up issue 2. You did nothing. You just embarrassed me in this that I didn't read your last garbage. So it's a blast for me. The Boys. Becky's Diary. This intrigues me because I don't know what's going on. I know that's weird. Why wouldn't you just blast it? Well, I like The Boys. I like the way they tell their stories. I love the artwork in it. In this, we don't know if it's current or if we're dealing with matters right after the White House incident in the last volume. We did get this kind of satirical look at today's society. And I'm probably going to get myself in trouble, but please just focus for a second. In this, we get Huey. We all know Huey. If you saw the show,
not me.
Not you, what?
Not me, Huey.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
No, okay.
Yeah, the Scottish guy.
The Scottish guy, yeah.
Anyway, so we have him back in Ireland after the whole events of the White House event. So that's where things get kind of confusing because that seemed like a very definitive answer to the entire Boys mythos. So the question is, what happened later? We'll get to that. So we pick up the story where we're meeting with Huey and he's drinking with a trainee at a Scottish bar. And the cool thing about the story is they're very meticulous about their dialect in this. I don't know if I appreciate it or if I care. I don't know. Sometimes I have to reword, like sound out of work. Because if you don't know, and not to throw out hurt feelings to Scottish people, if you're part of the English speaking world, it's a little hard to pick up. So you kind of got to read through it. I can appreciate that somebody took their time to do it. So as we read through it, Huey's hanging out at a bar with a tranny who's very obviously a tranny. I don't know if they did that to make fun of the current situation because they're talking about social justice warring, like they're trying to figure out how pronouns work. I don't know if it was the writer trying to relate. And the reason I don't know is because if we go to the bartender, and the bartender is very adamant that he does not like this situation of this person in the bar. And then we kind of get this little chung to cheek where he can kind of joke around with this particular tranny about certain Scottish things that obviously make fun of him. He kind of blows it off, has fun back with him, whatever. But there's some points made. I like the mysteriousness of this. I like it. I want the reader to read something and pick their own interpretation of it. I think that's smart. But as Huey's sitting on a toilet, because it's the boys and that's where you do your most thinking, he gets a package and he reads that it's from a diary, and we find out that his old protege wrote a message in there about cutting the kid's tongue out. The kid's a superhero or a super... Again, not explained to us, but we just saw the violence of it. Boys has always had a very unique writing style to it where you can't pick a side. And I really enjoy that about the Boys. Even in the show that came on Amazon Prime, you can't pick who's right and who's wrong? Does escalation constantly rise? And at what point, where does that level out at? It's interesting. I like The Boys, not for its comic book quality, but for its geopoliticalism. There's a big word. Feel free to look that up and tell me if I used it wrong or incorrectly, but I'm pretty sure I'm right on this. Power over people, geopoliticalism. Where's the line drawn, and who draws the line at the end of the day? So I really like it for that story. I know a lot of people will be like, "Well, that book came out last week." This is what came to the comic book store because they didn't do the special orders. Real quick, not to eat up a whole bunch of time, I just want to say thank you to a lot of people. Hello. Hello, guys. Got home. Thank you, Splash Page. Very cool. By the way, I still have your gloves that you gave me. That is really cool. When I'm dealing with my golden age, I still use those. Double S says, Huey, you from Ireland?
Yeah, because you were talking about Huey from Ireland from The Boys.
Right.
Yeah.
You from Ireland?
No, I'm not from Ireland. No.
You
and
sure?
I do a really shitty Irish accent
That's
too.
because he's from Scotland.
I can't do a Scottish accent.
And he's the bartender. No, I'm joking. Splash says, been a while, just work. Hey, we understand everybody's been busy. Everybody's got other things going on. Comic books has been kind of side shelved. It happens. Double S says, can't wait for season 2 of The Boys on Amazon. Huey, have you seen season 1?
I've seen season 1, yeah.
What'd you think?
I thought it was good. My stepdaughter watched it. She watched it till about episode 3 and said she couldn't watch anymore because it was far too disgusting. And I said, well, that's Garth Ennis for you. Pretty much. Garth Ennis has that. And Garth Ennis did write Dear Becky, too. So you talked about how that has that really deep, the dialogue. That's all Garth Ennis. I mean, that screams Garth Ennis. And so I didn't read The Boys at all, the comic. I've heard it was I was talking to one of the Steve at Rogue City, and he was saying that the book is even worse than the show about some of the stuff that happens in there. So I didn't pick up Dear Becky, though.
I highly recommend right now, and the truth is, because the show came out, you're overpaying for the comic book. If you can get out and get those comic books, honestly, because you watched the show already, it doesn't matter what you pick up on. Pick up as many of them as in a row as you can. They're categorized out in comic book series format. I'll be honest with you, I don't know what they're going to do. Everybody's thinking Herogasm for season 2. I think that's a long jump into what they missed in the midsection. I don't know what they're going to do in the show. I enjoyed the show. I thought it was funny. I thought it was a great satirical look at overall ideologies. And that's a very fancy way of saying I just thought they just made fun of the way people think of things.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a political statement by no means. But I do enjoy people's how do I say? I do enjoy people's interpretation of things. That's why I read several copies of the same book from the same people, as we've mentioned at the beginning of the show. Real quick, Splash Page Comics. By the way, I've met Splash Page Comics.
Dude, that beer must have been super strong tonight. That Ranger IPA must have been really.
It's super hard. I've met this cat. I'll be honest with you. I really like him. He's kind of like and I hope this doesn't offend him because I mean it in the best possible way.
That never.
Like you've met him too, yeah. He's just genuine, super country guy with country accent who takes care of the things he likes, and he wants to make sure other people do it. And I can appreciate that. I can legitimately appreciate that. Like, because of him, he's one of the guys, he's been in this for a while now, the whole comic book trade thing. He's one of the guys that if I touch a Golden Age comic book, I'm going to take very particular care of it. New comic books, I don't stress out too much about.
You want to see him faint, just open your Golden Age comic with your bare hands after eating some Pop-Tarts.
Yeah, he'll have no doubt.
He'll be all over you. That your last book you got, Joe?
Well, sure.
Okay.
No, it's my last book.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and bounce out of here. We're an hour and a half. We do appreciate everybody who did stop in tonight. Splash Base Comic, Double S, Samuel, David, Aggressively Relaxing. Definitely appreciate anybody who comes and stops by and watches to check us out on the live show or on the rewind or on the podcast. So definitely leave a comment down below. Tell us what you thought. Tell us what else you'd like to see. Do you like the stuff that we're doing at the beginning where we're talking about what we're reading, what we're watching, just a little more intimate details about us in general? I think it's kind of a fun thing to do because, I mean, we have hobbies outside of comics.
You don't get too intimate. Like, there's certain things I'm not telling you guys. Like, I'm just being honest. There's kids out there.
I'm not talking about your bedroom proclivities, okay? So we're not going to go into that. But definitely, I do enjoy just kind of catching up with you guys, talking about what we're doing throughout the week and stuff like that. So I think we're going to go ahead and bounce out of here. Hopefully next week we'll have Mike back. We got some other stuff we're still got going on. But since COVID-19 is kind of easing up on restrictions, life's kind of going back to normal. So it's kind of harder to get some time in there to throw some of those creator spotlights that we've been trying to do. We're going to figure out in the off air what nights Joe might be available for some of that, or maybe it might just be me running them and doing it from there. Who knows? But I know we got some stuff lined up. Just got to get some dates set.
By the way, there's a lot of YouTubers out there. Hey, look, if maybe you're thinking, hey, I want to hang out with you guys. I want to do a live feed. Let us know.
Forever Podcast said, "Who's the drunk guy?" Do you know Forever Podcast?
No.
I might have to go check out see who they are. Okay. Yeah. Whether you blast it, whether you stash it, happy reading, and we'll catch you guys next week.